Gary, just a minute ago you talked about trails, and I want to ask you guys a little bit more about that, especially Hans, you're working on your own Flow Country trails, and Marla, you're doing some trails too, but I also think, Marla, you have some memories you wanted to share too. It sounds like from the racing days, it sounds like you have a few that you want to let people know about.
You know, I actually should have memories, but I don't have a lot of memories. Sometimes they flicker in and out, but we had a lot of fun, and, you know, it was, like I said, heady times, and there were so many great moments and wild moments. I mean, crashing rental cars, and usually it seemed to be kind of destructive, but there was one defining moment, and this may be slightly embarrassing. I'm checking to make sure my husband's not around, but I was landing in a plane in Japan. We were going to a World Cup, and the flight attendant walked up to me and handed me a folded up piece of paper, and she said, "Don't open this until you get off the plane." And I'm sitting there thinking, I just woke up. It was like a crazy flight, like a typical flight. I'm not going to say what team I was on, but we were in first class. We had the whole section to ourselves. We had a contest. We took the Ambien, and we drank alcohol and caffeine and tried to see who could stay up the longest. It was wild, playing poker. I didn't remember a whole lot, and I was like, I wonder what this piece of paper says. So I get off the airplane, I open it up, and it's a doily, like a, you know, very ornately written, "Welcome to the Mile High Club." And I'm thinking, the Mile High Club? What is that? But anyway, to this day, I don't know what the Mile High Club is necessarily, but I know I had a lot of fun, and I know my teammates were pretty hot. So, I mean, that's just the way it was back then. So, you guys can cut that out of here. You can edit that if you want. I'm sure Ned has some stories just like that.
So are you saying you were passed out for part of the flight and don't remember what happened?
No, I hope not. I know.
That one might be hard to top. Anyone else got any good memories from the racing day or other events?
No, not related to that.
They don't have to involve airplanes.
I think
Marla, you kick my ass.
I'm sure you have plenty, Gary. You just have a better filter than I have.
Yeah, I don't think I want to hear Gary's stories about the Mile High Club. But I think the racing, you know, Hans was talking about the festivals in Europe. Those are really successful events that they have. There are thousands of riders. And I think what those events are doing are showing the participants a more quality experience. You know, they're getting a lot of riding for whatever their entry fee dollar is. You know, they're not doing short loop races where they start a lot of categories on the field at one time, so you're hyperventilating.
That's called LA traffic racing.
Yes.
Can I pass you? Can I pass you? Can I pass you?
Yeah,
Don't
that's
pass
what
me.
a lot of cross country racing was. But now it's proliferated into. I think that's why people are like the Leadville 100. I did the Leadville 100 this summer. There's like 7,000 people trying to get in for 1,500 spots. You know, it's amazing how many people will try and ride 100 miles or can ride 100 miles.
3 weeks ago, I was in Lillehammer. I do the Bike-A-Burner. 24,000 participants. 24,000 participants in that event. About 50 miles.
That's I think the single one-day biggest event there is. And but that's also where I see it growing over here, like the Gran Fondo style of mountain biking, where people like to get out and ride. It's a participation sport. I don't think TV's coming back. You know, we had a bunch of TV coverage in the early days. Every Northern National was on ESPN, and I go back and look at some of those old tapes. They're so boring to watch, and even downhill is hard to cover. But
we did hire the very cheapest production company we could.
But it's participation based. I don't think we're going to be on prime time TV, but participation works because the people love to ride. If you show them a good riding experience, they will come to the events.
Talking about a better riding experience, and we touched on it a little bit earlier, was trails and how the trails have developed and progressed and changed and evolved, especially in North America, but not only here. Hans, I think you probably have a little bit you can contribute to that, and where do you see trails going? How is it changing the way we ride bikes? What's the future of trail building?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the biggest movement in the years to come for our sport. You know, I think way more than the technology of the bikes will be the advancement of the trails. And in my opinion, we haven't even touched that yet, really, because I think 80% of all bikers out there, they don't even realize that it could be much more fun. I think most bikers they're pretty happy with the way it is. I mean, it's not bad. But if you really look at it, we've merely been tolerated so far on fire roads and on some trails, and then we have the conflict with the hikers. And nobody has ever said, why don't we build something for mountain bikers? Mountain bikers are the biggest active user group in every community in the world or in the Western world in the meantime. And these cities, they build basketball hoops and ping pong tables and playgrounds, but they never even thought about building a trail. The resorts now start thinking that way. And they start to realize that they need to do more than just open their lift to bikers, you know? Because a nice hotel you can find anywhere, but a nice trail you don't. And that's where I think the idea I call it Flow Country Trails. It's really just a term, because trails like this exist. But the problem is also people don't really know. If Gary tells me he rode this really cool trail in Lillehammer last week, I don't really know where I should put that, on what level, you know, because it's hard for us to differentiate. You know, the Eskimos, they have over 12 different words for the word snow. We have fun or flow or trail, but we need to differentiate. And I think that's where Flow Country comes in. And not to confuse this with flow, because flow has been around for the last 5 years, and flow is the future. But flow is one big family. And in this family, Flow Country is just one particular style of trail. There's many flowy trails. And for me, a Flow Country trail is never steep, never extreme, and never dangerous, and has a lot of flow. So basically, beginners can learn how to roll. Advanced riders can actually learn how to pump, which is much harder than you think to learn. And the good riders can ride that same trail and flow or fly on it. And so there's a lot more to it, but I'm excited because IMBA is behind this. And with IMBA, we creating this. We built the first official Flow Country trail to certain standards in Italy. And I think people are interested, and time is ripe that we have something like that. And in my ideal world, you know, it will catch on, and city communities will start saying, hey, we should do this in our community for bikers. And they don't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be in the mountains. It can be anywhere where you have 50 meters of vertical, you know, you can build a Flow Country trail. So I think this will take on.
You know, I completely agree with you, but I must point out that our problem that we're talking about is mostly in California. It's incredible. Across this beautiful nation, there are places where the mountain bikers are king of the outdoors, especially in the American Southeast. Oh my God, they are the stewards of the outdoors, and they build the trails as they see fit. And people like Ray at Ray's Indoor Bike Park, he's recently become an employee of Trek, and we're supporting him 100% to build more parks, because this guy is in tune with the mentality of mountain bikers and many mountain bikers. He has 6 different disciplines in his facility, an indoor one, and he understands the different mentalities. Because I'll tell you, for me, people ask me, oh, Gary, does this really excite you, all the changes in mountain biking? And, you know, a lot of it, I think, nah, I sort of expected this. But one thing has really excited me and blown my mind, and that's what the Gravity people do, and how they ride their bikes and the skill level. And when I go to Whistler and places like that, and I look at the average skill level, and I go, oh my God, I never expected this. This is fantastic.
I think on that note, I think speaking of the Gravity riders, there are some people now that are kind of taking ownership to certain trails. And personally, I've started this idea of signature trail systems, and not to promote my own company called Single Track Jungle, but I'm one of the first supposed champions, even though it's single speed world champion, to create a park, just like Arnold Palmer has created a golf course. So in this way, then you know, okay, Hans does the Flow Country, so we know what to expect from a Hans Ray bike trail or a park. And I think more and more public lands are getting hard to access. There's very little public funding for good construction for purpose-built trails. I think there's going to be a trend towards private trails, private property, resort developers that have to buy a bunch of extra scrubland as part of the package deal, and they want to maybe greenwash their resort, or just they just want it to be a great resort and have people have access to this, just like a swimming pool. So they invest money, and that's an amenity. They're not going to make money back, but it's on private land. And it's a way for them to promote their project. It's healthy. It gets people in Latin America. It gets people into the jungle sustainably without trashing the jungle. So I think there will be a trend towards more private trail building, and hopefully, and IMBA I think does a great job. I don't want to put that down. It's a tough battle building on public land.
I would add along those lines that one of the things that makes it important for these trails organizations to survive is for the riders to sign up, to join an organization, whether it's IMBA or your local trails group. And a lot of them are affiliated with IMBA, so IMBA gets to include you in their numbers because they add the local IMBA affiliates to their overall numbers. It gives them political power. In Durango, we've got kind of a charmed life. We have Trails 2000, which has 2,000 members in it, roughly 2,000 members. There's only 20,000 people in the town, so it's not too often you get an organization where 10% of the people in town are members of the organization. When there's a new development in town, the city council or the county commissioners will come to Trails 2000 and say, what do you think? Is there enough access? Should there be more trails in this area? So we've got so much political clout, and because we've got a good trail system, it's a destination trails area, so it brings in, adds to the economy, the businesses, the hotels, the restaurants, and everything. So, but it's key for people to get out there and join the local organizations and, stand up and be counted, as you were, so that those organizations have political clout.